While almost certain that this isn't going to change anybody's mind, it's time to poke a hornet's nest once again. We all know that it's wrong at best, and shameful at worst, to wish somebody would die from a horrible disease. Yet when the current White House resident was diagnosed with COVID-19, Twitter felt the need to say that anyone who posted their desire that he die would be suspended. However, they backed off from that stance in a matter of hours, no doubt realizing they would have otherwise cut off a very large segment of their users. What this sadly demonstrates anew is how Donald Trump has led the way in lowering the standards of decency for far too many among us. People were posting these death wishes even as a couple of prominent Democrats, named Obama and Biden, did what anybody with a scrap of humanity would have done. They wished for a speedy recovery by the Republican in chief. While sharing that latter wish, it seems to me Trump brought on this behavior regarding the virus with his own behavior. He hardly ever wore a mask, even during a Rose Garden event announcing his nominee to fill the Supreme Court. Few, if any, wore masks there. They were seen openly getting a lot closer than the recommended 6 feet. And in the wake of that, some senators, a governor, the Trump campaign manager, and a number of others tested positive for COVID-19. Never mind that the president himself had to be hospitalized due to the symptoms. And yet, even after that hospitalization, he doesn't seem to have exhibited any compassion for the survivors of the over 200,000 of our fellow Americans who have died due to the virus. Instead, it seems to me, Trump continues the only course he seems to know, making this all about him. That should trouble us all deeply, because it is not in the end about whoever holds that office, it is about what that office means. Our president should be a major part of the glue that holds this fragile nation together. Right about here, I need to remind you that I am neither Democrat nor Republican. When registered to vote, since I was legally able, I've always been independent. That said, you have also deduced by now that I'm no fan of President number 45. Even before COVID, I was convinced that he was unfit for that office, mostly based on his frequent demonstrations of just how unfit he was to be our leader. I still do feel that we need somebody in that job to shake up the status quo, but I want somebody able to color within the lines. In the case of Trump, the wrong horse was chosen for that race. And yet, against that backdrop, I would never wish that he or anyone else be felled by some dread disease. And no other American with a shred of decency should either. Don't get dragged down into the mud.